Welcome to the Agency Insider Show, where we talk to some of the sharpest minds in the digital marketing, SEO, and business growth. I'm your host, Navneet Kaushal, and today I have an exciting guest who is an expert in the world of SEO, paid ads, and iGaming, Karl Hudson. Karl, welcome to the show.
Hi, Navneet. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, obviously always good. It's always nice to get on podcasts and things. Obviously it's a bit depressing out. I mentioned earlier in the weather in the UK, although we have a sunny day right now, so that's very rare. But yeah, things are good.
Okay. And for those who might not be familiar with your journey, can you give us a quick overview of how you got into SEO and the digital marketing space?
Yeah, so got involved in SEO when I was 14. I'm 33 now, nearly 34. Kind of fell into it because of parents, helping parents out, and ended up being on forums. That's kind of down the journey. I kind of met Charles later on. Ended up getting involved in affiliate marketing and made pretty decent money back then for, very young age. And then ended up getting involved in gambling, like a white label gambling operator later on. That went really well for about 7 years, and then just recently exited out of that. And then in that timeline as well, created Searcheroo, and obviously I have plenty of other assets and things with my main business partner, James.
Okay. Now, you started SEO at the young age of 14. So what actually sparked your interest in this field, and how did you manage to learn and excel at such a young age?
Yeah, so what got us involved in it was primarily my parents were like self-employed, like life coaches, or NLP was the main term back then, but obviously now NLP stands for natural language processing, or at least in this industry, not neuro-linguistic programming. So they were doing a lot of like NLP training, stuff like this, and obviously the internet was very much, it was still dial-up and stuff back then. So like, or it was just moving slightly to broadband. So like, it was all very new, and they realized that they needed to try and rank higher. Obviously, I was then tasked. Basically, my parents went, "You're very good at computers," because I used to game a lot. I used to always be on games. You can learn how to do this. So they kind of just chucked me in at the deep end. Started just on forums, I think at the time. It was like Black Hat World. What's the other one? Digital. It's probably still going. There's like a digital marketing forum, which was a very, very old.
There was one more, right? And then there was Webmaster World. Right.
Webmaster World, exactly. And then like kind of just starting there in the deep end. And then I went down the road of like automation tools, because obviously at that point you could very much just spam and you would rank. So a very quick success rate when it came to the it was Digital Point. That was it.
Yes, Digital Point 4. Right.
So yeah, I was very active on all of them, and then got involved in automation tools like Six Submitter at the time. I don't even think that's a thing anymore. Magic Submitter, Zoomer, GSA, you name it. I pretty much tried it. Scrapebox, I was running it. And then obviously fast forward a few years, Penguin hit. That was always pleasant. I think I woke up to about 15 manual action penalties for pure spam. So that was fun. And then, I just learned, obviously at that point, you didn't realize you were doing anything wrong, because it was kind of just the way the system was played. And additionally, if you were just pure white hat back then, you didn't rank. So it was kind of like you had to do what you had to do to win. So obviously changed the approach, still very much involved with all of like learning the whole new way of SEO. And obviously since Core's rise and all of this, it's been changing even more so, obviously, when it comes to like semantics, the algorithm leak and all of this. So yeah, just forever learning. The amazing thing with SEO is it's all about testing data and improving user signals on the site. And that's something that we've always looked at doing. Obviously, the better the user signals, ideally the better the customer on the website, etc., the more money you're making.
Yes.
So that's kind of always been the strategy. The one weakness I've always had is like funnel optimization. I'm very good at getting users onto a site, but yeah, trying to keep them there, nurture them throughout the process is a weakness I'm currently working on. So that's kind of how I got into the whole game of SEO. And fast forward a few years, it was actually a friend he'd got investment from a big investor. I hadn't retired, but I was very much not doing. I was 24-year-old clubbing, partying all the time. And he kind of said, look, you need to go and meet this guy. So I went and had a coffee with him, and he owned these casinos. They were doing like negative 20 to 50K a month. Bad numbers. And essentially just didn't know, or had an SEO in, but it just wasn't working. So I kind of came in and started helping, and then that transpired. I ended up having shares in the business, and that kind of blew up to, I think we got them at the peak when I was there was about 2.4 mil, 2.7 mil a month, somewhere around that. So it was good numbers, obviously primarily UK focused, because it was a regulated market. So a lot of people often come to me and start asking about, the unregulated marketplaces. Well, I don't have a huge amount of experience in them. I do help some people rank, but obviously I tended to rank in the regulated markets. And that's it. Fast forward the journey, and I'm now here.
Okay, now can you also share some of the most significant changes you have witnessed in SEO over the years, and how have you adopted your strategies to keep up? I know you mentioned Penguin, but besides Penguin hit all of us. So yeah.
Yeah, so if I'm being honest, my strategy has never really changed much. I was always, the one key element has utilizing tools now and automation processes. So like, for instance, I used to have a change log for every single site that I worked on, and that change log would literally every single day would be date ordered. It would track, manually track though the page you've edited, what you edited on that page, and then there'd be a timeline of when you wouldn't retouch that page for at least 7 days. You'd then see and check Search Console. This was all manually. Check Search Console to see if that page had an impression increase. And then if it did, great. If it didn't, revert the changes, try a different change. If it did, let's continue with the changes, maybe add more to it, add more keywords on. And that's kind of like what I was doing. But now obviously you've got the likes of SEO Crucial or SEOtesting.com, like where all of this is kind of the exact same thing, but it's all, you can very quickly lay it out and do a test. I've been annotated onto one of them, and I've made this change, and it will actually track it and email you to say that was a successful change or not. It'll also tell you new keywords that have emerged, which was something I was always missing. So like if it's then picking up brand new impressions for new keywords, stuff like this. So I would definitely say that part of the process has changed, but in general, you're still building links. You're trying to get as good links as possible. So whether or not that's from digital PR, whether or not it's from, manual outreach to relative sort of sites. That process hasn't really changed at all. That's pretty much been the same process from day dot. I dare say it's got a bit quicker with AI and the tools like Pitchbox and stuff like that. Obviously, originally it was all kind of just being done out of Gmails. So it was all very, very slow and hard to track. Obviously, nowadays it's all in Pitchbox databases. I'm busy looking at developing some type of AI system to even automate that management side of the database and continual connections with the website owners to update pricing and stuff like that. So yeah, I would say the game's changed in the sense that I would say content's more king nowadays, but backlinks still have a huge place. At the end of the day, AI obviously has made content production really simple and really easy, but the problem is going to be the differentiating factor, which will be the backlinks. So I do think like backlinks obviously are still fundamental. Most sites I build always get links sent to them. They never ever sit there for very long without any links. And if they're not moving at all, guess what? I send some links and all of a sudden it starts moving. So that's kind of the approach in general. So typically start a brand new website, have the team do a topical map. It's nowhere near the same level of detail as core is. I don't have that amount of time. Usually I export as much as I can from various different tools, especially when it's a new site, a new niche, and I might not have access to the Search Console data. It's a lot easier if you do have Search Console data. Sometimes with that in mind, what I do is I launch the website and utilize Google paid ads, and a lot of them have like free coupon codes for like £2,000 or something. Spend 2,000, get 2,000. So what I'll tend to do there is just set up a very quick campaign, typically phrase match, and put in the keywords that Ahrefs is telling me to use, and then wait and see what keywords come out. And then that, with £4,000 worth of data, you kind of get in a very good picture of keywords and what converts, which is the key for personally for anything SEO. It's not all about impressions and traffic. It's about how are you making the money? Where's the money being made, right? And then you can have the best. You can have a customer come to you, a website owner, a company owner, and you can get him ranking for all of the words under the sun. But if he's not making money, guess what? He's probably going to leave.
Right.
He's going to be unhappy, right? And it's the same for any business owner. You're looking for that return on investment in the marketing spend. And it also puts you in a very precarious position because obviously as an SEO, you're looking to do the best. Let me quickly mute that. You're looking to do the best you can do when it comes to ranking. And obviously you might have done your job perfectly well, but then the issue is, they're not making money. So it becomes an issue.
Right. Now, you have mentioned the importance of EMD, exact match domains, in some of your previous interviews. Now, how relevant do you think they are in today's SEO landscape, and what other factors do you consider crucial for rankings?
Yeah, so when it comes to EMDs were like a fundamental, crucial part of our gambling strategy. It's still to this day, most of the EMDs still rank very well. I would say when it comes to website, I tend to go for EMDs over any other because you just seem to get a little bit easier ranking, a little easier time ranking for the main keywords, especially if it is an exact match for the main keyword. It might be an LSI keyword, which obviously might not be the main target keyword, but again, you'd rank better for that LSI than you would the main target. So I would say it's like, in our strategy, it's quite fundamental. Obviously, with Dooley, we're teamed up on a hell of a lot of local businesses, and most of these local sites are all EMD style domains. And we see rankings for minimal RDs. So let's say you've invested anywhere up to $1,000 on a domain in the sense of like building links to it. And you're getting rankings, you're getting all the local pages showing up, and it starts to generate inquiries within 6 to 8 weeks. It's pretty lucrative. However, when we've went strategies that I think the main thing for it is just time. So if you're wanting to build a brand, and so for instance, my brand Searcheroo, that's something that's been around since 2018, and it's just forever. It's just a slog forever, building links forever, trying to get digital PR, trying to build good content, improve the user journey, test. Like, it's just very, very difficult. And guess what? The brand is only it's Searcheroo, so it's not like an exact match like linkbuilder.io, for instance. Whereas they've came in pretty quick, they've went quite aggressive, and they've ranked really quickly for a lot of terms. Don't get us wrong, like there's nothing wrong with that strategy. I just personally, in this space, when it comes to companies that prefer brand, and I think long term the brands will win over EMDs. When it comes to like the local side, a lot of people just want a quick answer. And I think this is why AMDs sometimes work. Sometimes people who aren't the greatest with computers might actually just type in, and we do actually see this quite often, is direct search. So they just literally type in carpet cleaner Manchester.co.uk, and they've actually just typed that into their browser without even visiting your website, like without knowing it's a website, but they just know it's a .co.uk and not realized. And then guess what? Your website loads. And yeah, so I would say AMDs are pretty fundamental. Obviously, you've got within gambling, there's a lot going on now with ODYS and the expired domain market.
Right.
Now, we do a lot within expired domains, and acquiring something that can hack. It's all about saving the time, right? So we can start a brand new site and we can spend, especially if it was say in the gambling niche, you'd spend thousands and thousands on links in the gambling niche, because as soon as anyone hears the word backlink in casino, the price goes up 3 times. So yeah, you can hack a lot of time and a lot of money there by acquiring a domain that might already have all of these juicy bits from all the different sites, like Forbes and whatnot, and Wikipedia links and etc. All the links that are kind of like hard to get in gambling. They're the sort of big money domains that you kind of want to try and acquire, because you're just getting those extra ticks. And yeah, Alex at ODYS, big shout out to him. He's been great for that. Obviously, we used him for years in the gambling industry. We still use him now for some of the affiliate adventures that we go into, and sometimes team up with him as well. If he finds a really good domain and he's charging an arm and a leg for it, then we sometimes team up. But yeah, it just all depends on appetite and how quick. I think anyone getting into SEO and expecting it to be like a instant hit, it's not like that anymore. I think SEO, like, don't get me wrong, I've got we just did something recently and it's like it's been pretty instant, the stuff we've been doing recently, but it's very few and far between stuff like that. It's very rare that you launch a website and out the box it indexes page 1 for like a pretty decent key. Like, that is just rare. That doesn't usually happen. And then there's a time period of nursing it and building it up, and all of the stuff that SEOs just have to do, people try to skip. And this is the main issue, I think, of the industry is, like, I go on quite a few consultancy calls, and the amount of times I've been on a consultancy call and I'm like, right, what's the SEO company that you've had for 2 years doing? Like, I've got access to, say, Search Console. The Search Console's on a negative trajectory for 2 years. Impressions are going down, clicks are going down. And he's like, I don't know. I'm like, well, they're clearly not doing any tests, because there should be testing each page with new page titles, new elements on the page to try and improve those impressions to get the click. And like, if they're not providing that data each month, then what are they actually doing for the? Oh well, I get a report, and this is the thing I hate. So anyone who does, if I do consultancy for anyone, I don't give reports. My report is, we go into your Search Console, you'll see impressions go up, you see clicks go up. That's my job, right? that is what I do. I don't give a 60-page report trying to fluff the client into why I've used an automated tool to do all of these meta descriptions and meta titles. You see what I just don't do that. That isn't my thing. And yeah, that's kind of like, that's the annoyance with the industry, I think, is that there's a ton of agencies out there. Like, I know some agencies, I'm obviously not going to mention who, but for nearly 6 to 8 months, they were selling an SEO service, had SEO contracts, and had no active SEO in the business.
Wow.
It's like, I don't get it. It's just, I do not understand. They were giving the customer a nice report. And obviously, I get it in the sense that if that customer was doing paid ads, which they were, those paid ads are going to have positive user signals. We especially know that from the nav boost. Because of that, obviously, there is going to be an improvement in SEO. The two do sort of marry up quite well. And obviously, then they're giving them a nice glossy report, which is showing this improvement, but actually very minimal SEO, if any SEO is actually being done. It's all just because of the paid ads and what the brand would be gaining naturally from doing paid ads anyway. I assume you've probably seen similar, right? It's like, wow.
Yes.
It's just crazy what like some people. I personally don't have the balls to do that to someone. Like if I'm working with them, I'm working with them. There's going to be
You gotta have some ethics, obviously, at that.
exactly. But yeah, I would say that's when it comes to like AMDs and stuff, very, very pro AMD domains. I know in recent years it probably got more difficult in the sense that, you know, previously you'd be quite lenient. When it comes to like anchor texts and things, I'm very much of the opinion, let's say it's carpet clean in Manchester, .co.uk. The word carpet clean in Manchester without any spaces would be classed as the brand term, and obviously .co.uk will be the URL. If it has the space in, I would then still class that as an exact match anchor. And that's kind of how but there's lenience there. So it's an exact match anchor, but obviously there is still a connection with the brand. But I'm very much, I focus primarily just on that. And I've seen great success. And I mean, in some verticals where like slot games verticals where we've launched a website and we've built 70 RDs to it. And I think it's still position one for its 8,000 search volume month in the UK. Yeah, and that's 7 years on, so it's still going pretty strong and not much link building at all other than the initial stuff, and then obviously internal linking on the back end. So
let's talk a bit about entrepreneurship and business growth. Now, you have successfully transitioned from being an SEO expert to a full-fledged entrepreneur. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced during this transition?
to be fair, it's a really good question. So the main challenge that I have, and I still have to this day, is I actually really enjoy the SEO work. So I love SEO. I live and breathe SEO. So then the problem is like the entrepreneur stuff, although obviously it's great for the businesses and the money, at the end of the day, I just want to sit in front of my screen in a locked room, no one disturbing us, and just carry on playing with my computer, basically. I would say that's been the biggest challenge, is coming out of my you've probably seen us on quite a few YouTubes and stuff nowadays, doing some talks on stage, and a lot of that is I only do Q&As primarily because I almost feel like anyone can prepare a presentation and present. Not many people can get up and on the fly have a big group of people ask them any question at all, and I'll either know the answer, or if I don't, I'll say I don't know the answer, but I can find out. And I like that approach because in my eyes, it feels like there's authenticity with the person. Right. Whereas, you know, a company could just send a sales representative, here's your presentation, here's the data. The sales guy has no idea about any of it. He's just reading off the presentation, might have a bit of flair, but the reality is he is not an SEO. And that's like, it's kind of the approach we've adopted, is, you know, do podcasts with like the likes of yourself and other players in the industry, and then at the same time go and do Q&As on stage, you know, we share a lot of knowledge. We're in a lot of testing groups, and yeah, I would say that's the hardest part that I struggle with, is the having to go and mingle, because I'm naturally introverted, as most SEOs are. Exactly. So it's very difficult, and yeah, it's very difficult to. I would say over the years, as that's been developing, I've become more extroverted, in the sense that most people would probably look at me and think, "No, he's an extrovert." I'm definitely not. It's very much something I've learned and have to continually learn and practice. Is like, for instance, even this podcast, I knew it was booked in. It's like 9:30. I'm thinking, oh, can I get out of this? Is there an excuse I can come up with? Like, just because I'm nervous and don't want to go on a podcast. It's crazy. It's just how the head comes in and starts sort of, I don't know, sabotaging yourself, I guess, is the word.
You know, but the funny part is, once you get into it, then you actually, it's just the start which you feel. I would feel, I have another podcast today. So you get into, I'm just being honest, then you really enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
It's talking with the like-minded people and learning different stories. So that's what I love about doing podcasts now.
So what made you, well, obviously I'm going to divert that question back to you as well. Like what made you obviously successful business with page traffic and stuff like that? Obviously that's like an agency, right? SEO agency. How have you went from SEO to entrepreneur, and how's that developing for you?
So I started SEO back in 2002. So
Nice,
I was
long time ago.
yes, long time ago, and that's where I founded Page Traffic. So the bad thing is this is my first job, so I'd never done any job. I was just out of my school and started doing the SEO. Then people started contacting from the US, UK. Most of the agencies started white labeling services to me. I didn't know how to do. I added up people, but honestly, I'm a bad boss. Good SEO.
You're
I'm
all worst class is SEO. That's the problem.
so I'm still learning, but so then I of course I started. I am still an introvert, but the only thing is I enjoy talking, specifically talking about SEO. So I've spoken a lot of conferences in India across. I mean, of course, for 23 years you would have done everything.
Yeah.
And I like doing it. I like testing. I still jump out of my chair for a shiny tool. I'm gonna try this. So I don't know. I have this. Sometime at night I'm testing. Object syndrome. We all have. So
it's totally what I go down some rabbit holes with this stuff. Yeah. The problem is you don't have the time of day, so then it's distracted you down a rabbit hole that you should not be down, and there's a pile of stuff building up. When you come back out the rabbit hole, you're like, oh, for God's sakes.
So I still have, like, I'm sure you also would have jillions of LTD lying wasteful on AppSumo. We would buy, oh, we're going to try this. I probably not even open it more than once.
No, I've got that exact same problem. My main crutch, and I was just actually chatting to Craig Campbell yesterday on a podcast, and my main one is domains. I hoard domains. So we're a domain registrar in the UK as well. And I'm always, every day, the drop list comes, is there any good AMDs in here? Even if I have no intention of going into this niche. I'm still reviewing domains that I've every year went, I'm going to build a website on that, and just never, ever built a website. And I mean, I think I'm up to about over 1,000 domains or something. I know in our registrar account, we've got over 3,500, but like personal domains that I own, I'm at about 1,000, of which I could probably say 200 maybe have sites on, maybe a little bit more than that. And yeah, but every year I still renew them. Every year is renewing them.
It's gonna learn something new.
Exactly. And then
I know.
Now what I'm doing is the plan, or what I started doing last year was I just had the team, whenever they're quiet, they just launch a site. And then it actually got to a point that was really funny. So there was like a laser eye surgery website, like a local one. And all of a sudden, one of the businesses that I run started getting random inquiries for laser eye surgery. We're not laser eye surgeons, obviously. And I'm like, I don't understand where these inquiries are coming from. But someone's put a number or email address on somewhere. And then actually later on, a few weeks later, I find out from the team we're ranking like #1 for one of the main keywords in laser eye surgery. And I'm like, and then it had a redirect number, which was to this other business. Like they hadn't changed out the number. I'm like, that's where they're going. So like, that's like just stuff that happens. And obviously you just have to deal with that as and when it comes. It's obviously nice that it happens. But yeah.
So same in the case. I have ended up testing and optimizing for so many wrong keywords. Instagram hack. Instagram 50K hack. I don't even know what the hell that means. Instagram 50K hack. We started ranking #1 for that. I mean, every day somebody will say my Instagram is locked. Can you help me? This lock. I don't know. For fun, if you type Google YouTube office India, our office will come up.
So is that kind of getting loads of like people wanting support?
Yeah. And my sales guy said, "What the hell have you done?" I said, "Sorry, I'm gonna undo it all."
Yeah, that's not good. That is
That's
not good.
so done. But it was just a fun testing I was trying. Okay, can we get 500,000 extra traffic? And imagine we are a SEO agency and we were getting 500,000 monthly traffic. All
Well,
shitty traffic.
that's a crazy thing as well. What annoys me sometimes with the agencies is like they don't even try to rank. The amount of like, especially in the UK, the amount of marketing companies that don't even rank for like their terms or don't even try to rank. And I'm like, how can people go to someone who doesn't rank their own stuff? You see
Right.
what I mean? It's like, I just don't understand that logic. Um, yeah, it's just an interesting journey, I think.
Yes. So funny thing is when I meet people in India, a lot of people come to me and say when they were learning, mine is the website they were learning from, and they would
Right.
always why I don't lose my ranking. So for almost 15 years, we were number one for our town.
Yeah.
15 years. And I don't see it too much, but I'm still sure we still ranking top 10 for many of the keyword. And everybody would say, we look towards you because why don't you move out every update and you're still there?
Well,
So
that's
they
the
say,
key as well, right? Is like some people don't understand that. Like in my head, as long as you're on page one, that's a good result. Because page one, obviously, more factors come into play. Like you
right,
really need to be fundamentally on top of your user signals to be able to crack, top
right,
five. Then when you're in top five, to be able to crack top three, it's all about user signals, click-through rates, dwell time. You know what I mean? Like all
right.
of these signals come into play, and like that's great, but sometimes you have to also remember is you also got another job to do, which is all the customers, right? So as long as you're on page one, that means what out of 2 million or 3 million other SEO companies, you're in the top 10 in the world. Come on. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's kind of like the view that we took on the gambling as well. Like, I'm going to be honest, our gambling budget when I first started was I think maybe £2,000 a month to rank for like online slots, online casino, like all these huge terms. And we did it, but by God, it was hard. It took so much time. Eventually, obviously, our budgets went up considerably. I think at the point of me exiting, we were maybe spending 50K a month on like links and SEO and stuff.
Yes.
Um, we were spending a way load. I actually think, to be fair, the true scale in that business came when paid ads. We got a good paid ads guy in who was like top notch, and his focus was paid ads, paid ads, paid ads. And the growth that we seen from doing the paid ads from the SEO side, as well as obviously a return on investment from the paid ads, was just exponential. So I would obviously always advise like anyone who's planning on doing SEO is almost you have like a combined strategy. Even I would even say go for less of an SEO budget initially, especially if it's a new site, and spend your money in paid ads because that data is going to only help you work out where you make money quicker. Because the problem with SEO is it might take you 6 to 8 months, so 6 to 12 months to rank for a keyword. And guess what? We've got you number one, but you're not making any money. Whereas you could have found that out within 2 weeks on paid ads.
Right.
So sometimes people go, oh, yeah, but it's big money to spend. Well, yeah, but that data is invaluable. And you might actually make money back from it straight away. Like it could generate a good lead. I know a guy that I help quite often, a good friend of mine. He's in like commercial gas industry, and man, you wouldn't believe the CPAs that this guy has. Like, as in like £70 a click. It's as high as sometimes, and you think that is for a small business that is hard to compete. That's like crazy to compete in, and obviously it's because he's up against the likes of British Gas and all these other big giant energy companies that just don't mind spending a few million a month on paid ads.
Right.
Um, So that's been quite an interesting journey for him. Is obviously he's now wanting, with the data we've got, going into the SEO route, but it's took like 2 years of collecting the data because he just didn't have the budget to be able to get high enough in the ad rank, because obviously everyone else is outbidding him. So he was on page 1, but he was never really able to get position 1 because it was too much cost. But in time, obviously, you take the data, take what you can, and then just learn from that. And hopefully, he's still getting enough leads to make money from it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's been an interesting journey so far.
Okay. Now, moving on now, in your experience, what are the key elements of diversification that SEO professionals should consider when expanding their businesses? One, of course, you mentioned the pay-per-click, but are there other areas as well?
Obviously, it very much depends on the business type. So in the gambling, we went down TV. So we ran TV ads. And again, it just all depends on what type of business are you. I wouldn't necessarily say an SEO agency should run TV ads because chances are you're not going to attract very interested people. Whereas the likes of, say, YouTube ads, I know myself personally, I spend a hell of a lot of time just with YouTube open. I've got 2 screens here, YouTube open on this screen in my whilst I'm doing work. If there's then a YouTube ad that keeps popping up and it's of interest to us, chances are I might actually be caught in. So yeah, it's just very dependent on industry. I'm very pro anything traffic. So if you can get social media traffic, if you can do organic social media, pin interests, anything that has some volume of traffic that isn't reliant on Google. So Reddit, for instance, if you can monetize Reddit ads, guess what? You've got a business that is no longer reliant on an SEO instability of rankings. And I think a lot of the time, if you've got a business that is fully reliant on SEO, you don't have a business.
Right.
You have a bomb that is just ticking and waiting to go off. So if you are ranking really well, fantastic. Let's now do a paid ads campaign, social media campaign, retargeting campaign to try and drive more revenue from other funnels. Because then that way, it's like, for instance, a guy I know very, very well. He runs like a waste management business. And there was a time a few years ago, he got hit big in an update. And since then we've recovered. But at that time, luckily, I'd about 6 to 12 months before that, I told him to start doing paid ads.
Okay.
And he literally said that saved his entire business. That advice of start running paid ads, yes, it wasn't as profitable, but when he lost his SEO, he didn't all of a sudden wake up and have to say to 10 staff members, you're all sacked. It's just helped him survive. And obviously now his SEO's coming back, his paid ads are running like almost perfectly. So he's got a bigger system of generating even more money and wanting to expand the business into other areas of the country. And that's kind of like anytime I've worked with someone, I'm usually pretty good friends with them, or at least become quite good friends with them. And that's always the goal. For me personally, is to see them succeed and like grow more than just what this little SEO website is. I almost see myself nowadays as like a marketing expert as opposed to just an SEO expert. Like, I will admit I'm not. You come to me for social media ads and I'll probably send you elsewhere because I'm not the social media guy. But I know people who are, you know what I mean? Like, I'm in the circles where I happen to know quite a few good social media ads guys, but don't ask me to do it. Like, I wouldn't accept it even if it was. I would say go here. At the end of the day, it's an analogy that Dooley uses quite a bit. You wouldn't get, let's say you're building a house and you need the roof done. You're not going to get the plumber to do the roof. You're going to get the roofer to do the roof. It's very much the same analogy. I can do paid ads. Again, I can do paid ads probably on a lower level. I'm not going to go into like the Google shopping and stuff like that, but I can do like PMAX campaigns and all of that sort of phrase match, all that sort of stuff. But I haven't really done much with shopping ads. So again, if it's a big e-commerce store who need to do shopping, guess what? I'm probably not the paid ads guy. But if you're just a lead gen business who's wanting to generate some leads, yeah, I can probably quite easily do your paid ad stuff as well as the SEO. Like that's kind of the route. Obviously, I don't take on a lot of with consultancy stuff. I in general try to avoid. It has to be basically someone who A, I like, and B, they will not pester me. If they pester me, they very quickly no longer work with me. And that's kind of it's sometimes hard for business people to like understand that, but time's money, and at the end of the day, if they're questioning what I'm doing, they don't trust us. So if they don't trust us, guess what? There's no point in doing business together. Give me 3 months, I guarantee you'll see impressions and clicks increase. That's simply it. Like that's kind of the strategy I adopt.
Right. Now, you talked about, of course, you know somebody as social ads if you don't know the social media part. Now, you also previously have in other interviews mentioned the importance of partnerships in business growth. Now, what advice would you give to agencies owners looking to form strategic partnerships?
So with strategic part, obviously just know that I like to know the people. So most partners that I have, for instance, Dooley, I've known for, it must be like 10 years now. I've known him for a very, very long time. We only became business partners in 2020, maybe 2021. It might be a little bit after that, to be fair. I think it was 2021 he came into the searcheroo. And then that's kind of where our business partnerships kind of flourished. We've got an investment company and stuff like that. But, you know, that there was best part of 5-6 years where I hadn't done business with him. I've just been to various conferences, masterminds, out, had a beer with him multiple times. I always laugh and say, if you can't share a beer with someone, you probably shouldn't do business with them. And I know some people, I don't even drink much myself anymore. So if you can't sit and have a coffee and enjoy the company of someone, you probably shouldn't do business with them. And I think that's sometimes trust in your gut is more important than anything else. If you have, you know, your gut intuition will just you'll have a good feeling of whether or not this person is good or bad. And that's not necessarily that you know, in general, they probably are a good person. It's just it might not be a good match of mindsets when it comes to you two working together. You can have you know, banging heads a lot. And yeah, I think also finding partners who are strong at your weaknesses. That's like fundamental because, like, for instance, Dooley's amazing when it comes to money and business. So he's the guy you want in the room who will 3-4x a business deal in terms of monetary value. Whereas I'm the guy who just wants to do the work. So I'm very happy to not have the argument over the money. Just let me get to work type thing. So that complements. Usually I go very quiet whenever money's being mentioned, and he's the guy who steps up because he knows that's not a strong point of mine. And I'm very much aware that isn't a strong point of me either. You know, I very much just roll over very quickly. I'm not very good when it comes to disputes. But I think that's, again, what makes the partnership work. It's what makes together you grow, because I will admit, like, I have got better at that since partnering with Dooley, learning from him. Likewise, he's probably got better at actually, you know, getting structure in place, SOPs in place for the team to actually do the work and deliver. So yeah, I think that's the fundamental, is you work out what you're weak in and be brutally honest with yourself as well, because the amount of people I've been to conferences and they think they have no weaknesses, and I'm like, well, that in itself is a major flaw and a weakness, because you're actually just overconfident, which probably means you're poor in multiple things, you're just not willing to admit it. I think that's fundamental as well, you know, being honest, you know, what area of the business, chances are, I think a good way of identifying that as well, find something that takes you a long time to do, and you just can't be bothered to do it. Like, for instance, we mentioned earlier with the podcast, it's hard for me to do that. But the problem with that is I can't outsource that to someone because I've got the knowledge. So I have to do that. I have to grow and do that. But guess what? In your business, if there's an area of the business, like, for instance, accounts, that you just hate doing, then get a bookkeeper.
Right.
Like, and that's kind of like the approach. It's like, find what you dislike in your business, and guess what? If it's a big fundamental part, like with I'd imagine with you and your agency, if you need someone who was just top notch at paid ads and that isn't yours as SEO, guess what? Become a partner with a paid ads guy who is going to run the entire paid ad side of the business. He might take a commission basis or like a percentage of profit basis. He might just get physical shares in the company. It all depends on how you end up structuring the company, but that's how you would look at, or I would look at doing it.
Okay. Now, let's talk a little bit about iGaming niche, which of course you specialize in. Now, you built a 7-figure SEO-driven business in the iGaming and casino industry, which is of course one of the most competitive space online. What made you choose this niche?
Like I said at the start, I kind of fell into it, if I'm being honest, in the sense that I was introduced via a friend to the main business owners.
Right.
And then we ended up just getting on. And again, I like to sit and do the work. So I sat and did the work for a few months, and they seen amazing results. And that's kind of just how I kind of landed in that industry. I previously were primarily in like dating and health products. I was never ever in the gambling industry, or bloody hell, nowadays I'm even in the porn industry nowadays, and not for the right reason. Not for the right reasons, you know what I mean? But like,
I hear you.
Ranking websites, I ain't in the videos. Like, I'm ranking the websites. But like that sort of stuff is it's just crazy. So yeah, it was kind of, again, put my money where my mouth was, helped the brand increase revenue from paid ads. At that point, it was literally me, a content manager, and the 2 business owners. That was it. That was the size of the team. We had, I think, 3 websites, maybe 4 websites. And, we built that up to, at me exiting, I think we were at 45 or 46 websites, online casinos. And yeah, it was just all going very, very well.
Okay. Now, what are the biggest SEO challenges in iGaming according to you, and how should one tackle them?
So it depends on what version of iGaming you're in. So the biggest challenge in unregulated markets typically is ISPs or Google themselves, because they'll often ban the websites or the web pages. With that, obviously, that's when you're having to do like redirections and stuff to try and mitigate the risk. But again, your redirection might only, in some countries, might only be in play for a week or less. And guess what? The website's been hit. The next website's been hit. So you have to be on your toes in those industries. Whereas when it comes to the UK and like Germany and like places like this where it's a highly regulated market, I think the hardest part is the regulation itself, in the sense that sometimes you can't make changes to the page without it going through a team of compliance officers. Now, anyone who knows SEO, and like, you need speed, you need to be implementing changes. You want to be waiting to see the data as quick as possible to then implement the next change. When you're then having to wait, anywhere up to 6 weeks for a lawyer or the compliance officer to approve a sentence on a page,
Right.
It very much, and I think this was like almost like will be the downfall of the smaller businesses within iGaming in the regulated markets, is the regulation was becoming so tough that basically there's no real room for small operators. It's only the big guys who can kind of weather that time period. And because of that, you almost lose that competitive edge. I think that's what made us so successful at the start, was we were able to go in, go hard. We were hundreds of pages up, and then all of a sudden down the line, HR, compliance, all of these things start changing, and guess what? It becomes very, very hard. So I would say that's the hardest part of gambling, is the elements you can't control. That is the fundamental parts of gambling that are difficult. So, you know, with foreign markets, I would say negative SEO is also quite a difficult one in the unregulated markets. I've seen some very interesting negative SEO attacks, and you're not talking just basic and someone doing a GSA spam of dodgy anchor texts. You might actually see someone doing genuine guest post outreach of targeted anchor texts, which sees a nice increase. And guess what? You're never complaining when there's an increase in the rankings, but it just keeps growing. And I actually seen this happen in the UK, and it wasn't a negative attack, but the guy himself was just building hyper aggressive anchors, like did not differ from, you want to rank for online slots. The only anchor he was building was online slots. That was it. Online slots. And he, to be fair, I think he got to position 2 or 3 in the SERPs, and he sat there for a good few months, and then an update came, and then he was no longer in the SERPs. And like that's the approach that some of these guys do on a negative SEO approach, is, you know, they're building links, and you just, especially if you're in charge of multiple brands, or, you know, you're building a ton of links, you just accept that, yeah, that's fine. You haven't really noticed the link. And then you tend to notice them at a point where it's too late. And then at that point, it's very difficult to recover. It's like one of the brands we also launched off the back of that was Backlink Doctor. Not sure, you might not have heard of it, but basically it's a link disavow brand where, you know, we do link audits. That's all that brand focuses on. We have probably the biggest data set in the planet when it comes to disavows and what toxic links are. It's very much a partnership with Rick Lomas. I don't know if you've heard of him. He was very much one of the first guys when it came to disavows. Matt Diggity and all that used to recommend, or still does recommend, Rick. But Rick's obviously wanting to retire. He's getting on a bit, and he trained up the team to do all of the disavows, and that's kind of like where this idea came from. And it just gives us an amazing data set in like the amount of links that get disavowed in iGaming is crazy. Like it just, you need to be on top. If you don't do one of the books we've just launched, iGaming SEO, is coming out soon, and basically it's a amalgamation of all of the top iGaming SEO consultants, and I'm pretty sure out of the I think there's 20 or 23, 24, almost every one of them says if you don't do a link audit, you should not be doing iGaming. But what's amazing with that is if you read the narrative online, people are like, oh, you don't need to do it. Google knows what bad links are. You don't need to do anything when a disavow tool and all this. In my eyes, if Google really knew what bad links were, why did they have a disavow tool? Right. The tool wouldn't exist. Like if they could literally identify every bad link, that tool wouldn't exist. And I know there's rumors of them terminating it, and that's also been the case for many years. They've been saying that for many years, and I'm not sure they can. I just don't think they want to terminate a tool that does obviously help users, especially when they're getting targeted with negative SEO. Like, what are you supposed to do if someone's building thousands of links to your brand and you can't tell Google that you haven't built the links?
Right.
So yeah.
Okay, now for agencies that want to break into this niche, where should they start?
For agencies that are wanting to break into iGaming, I personally would say you need to get some experience with actually trying to rank. So whether or not that is build your own asset and start to try and rank and understand the fundamentals of the industry. Because, for instance, like I wouldn't trust any SEO agency to touch any one of our iGaming brands if they hadn't dealt with the compliance issues. Because I know all that's going to do is cause loads of headache when they send changes or want to publish changes and we can't. So they have to understand what is compliant and what is not. So obviously in the UK, a lot of that was like you're not allowed to suggest that someone can win, you know, like guaranteed winnings, stuff like this. You have to be careful of child-friendly images. Well, guess what? Most of the slot games, which is where a casino makes 95% of its revenue are all bloody cartoon characters. So how are you meant to use any images? All of this sort of stuff is like, yeah, I would say that's how an agency, in my eyes, earns its stripes. Yeah, and maybe if you want to get into it, maybe even teaming up with like a smaller white label operator where you might have to go in at a lower monthly, but maybe on some type of deal where you earn a percentage of revenue that can increase. That could be a way in, I'd imagine, rather than, because some of the bigger boys in this industry, you know, they've already got the likes of 888 and 32 Red and Virgin Games and things on their books. So I don't think you'll make it into those big boys without doing the stepping stones first.
Okay, and how do you approach link building for a highly regulated industries like iGaming? And are there any specific strategies you have found particularly effective?
Yeah, so 301 redirects are great. So in casino especially, I found in the past, one of the strategies was build just a random article, maybe it's a statistic article, might not even be necessarily about gaming, but if you can make it about at least online gaming in some instance, get loads of digital PR, press releases, guest posts all through to it. And then guess what? You're going to 301 redirect that through to a blog post, which has internal links to whatever main page. That's like one of the key strategies we used to employ quite a bit, or acquiring just through expired domains or age domains and 301 redirecting them in time. That was another good strategy that we often did as well. PBNs are definitely have a space when it comes to iGaming. Generally speaking, the bigger the operator, chances are they probably run their own PBN network. So they're often looking to acquire their own sites and obviously build out their own networks. So yeah, I would say that's like the keys when it comes to regulated markets. Obviously, if you're doing guest posting, a lot of the time, the content, you're actually responsible for the content that links to your brand. So you have to make sure that the content being published on a third party is compliant. So, you know, ChatGPT nowadays, that's quite easy to do. Like give it a list of prompts that it has to ensure is compliant, like a compliant check-in agent, and it will tweak stuff. So yeah, I would say that's the key fundamental. You know, at the end of the day, just have a big budget, and then probably times that by 2. What you think is big, times it by 2, and that's probably what you should be spending and gambling.
Okay, and let's talk a little bit about AI. Of course, AI is shaking up the content and SEO industry. Do you think AI generated content will ever be able to replace the human rated content, and is it good to go to rank?
Yeah, so we see it like most of our websites now, the new ones are AI generated. We do obviously have human editors who proof check, but pretty much most of it is AI generated now. And then it's just we check the facts, basically fact check and make sure it's correct. But I think within a year or two, everything on the internet's going to be AI. It's all going to be driven by AI. And Google's even admitted it themselves, you know, that they're not against AI content, just as long as it's providing value. And there's ways that you do that. You know, if you're an expert in an industry, guess what? Feed it any good articles that you like in that industry, any pieces you maybe wrote yourself, feed it all that facts and data, and guess what? You can produce something that's probably better than 80% of the articles out there. And that's how you do it. I think the problem is a lot of people go on ChatGPT and type, write me an article on SEO. And that's the issue. You've now just left, there's no parameters, there's no knowledge base. You're just relying on what that that LLM's been fed from the millions, if not billions of users that have used it. And guess what? It's going to be garbage in, garbage out. You've given it no instruction. You've assumed that it's an expert when it's not. It's just it's a machine that's amalgamating loads of content and data points. And that's, I think, the fundamental flaw is that a lot of people just rely on ChatGPT and bare-bones basic prompts, and that's becoming a prompt engineer is vital, I think, and especially in the next few years. I think people who are becoming better with AI and better prompting the AI will become a huge job in itself.
Yes. Now, what tools or platform do you personally use for AI-driven content and SEO?
So, AI content. So we have N8N, which is like a flow, a user agent flow where you can create multiple user agents, AI agents, sorry, and that allows us to customize content. We have Visual Studio Coder, which then allows us to tie into Ada. But again, it depends on what, for that, we're not necessarily doing content, but we're doing like website builds, or we might be doing plugin builds, like more tech stuff that we're using Claude for and Sonnet. Obviously, I believe Screaming Frog, which I haven't had a play with this yet. Screaming Frog's just integrated with OpenAI. Now, I assume that's, I don't know if have you played with that yet? I assume that's to be able to do meta titles and descriptions.
Yes, with the 20th version of it, we have played it with a little bit where you can use the OpenAI API. But yes, I think for pages which you have lots of duplicate pages and content, it's good. I won't recommend it for your key money pages, but just to keep your site clean, not have too many duplicate titles or metas, I think that's a good bet.
Yeah, exactly. So like that's like a prime example of how we're using it. So another tool that we use quite often, but at the same time, we're now probably doing more manual prompting than using the tools, auto blogging. I don't know if you know Webath.
I know. I've met him a couple of times in Chiang Mai as well, right?
Yeah, so we invested in that tool, and that's another tool we use quite often, and that sort of compares the SERPs, what content they have, creates outlines based off the competition, and then obviously produces the content using I think GPT-4. Obviously don't quote us on that, and at the time of this coming out, it might be using GPT-5. Who knows? It moves so quick.
Right.
But obviously with each iteration of the AI, like even when I'm actually currently coding right now, I've got Visual Studio Code here, and as I'm coding now with, I think I'm on 3.7 on Claude, and like the difference is huge, like so much less errors. You know, before you might get stuck in a loop where you might be in that loop for about 4 hours trying to break out the bloody loop. But I'm not a coder, so obviously I imagine if you're a coder and you're not scared of AI, oh my God, like the opportunities are endless, because like I'm stuck on one error and I don't know how to fix it because I'm not a JavaScript developer. So I just have to keep on asking the question until eventually something works. Whereas, you know, a coder could just open it up and go, oh, it's this line, this is the problem, fixed. And I think just, yeah, if people just come to AI and just open their eyes to it, you know, like it's not gonna, at the end of the day, your main limitation with anything AI is your own brain.
Right.
And this is like a conversation I had this morning with a business owner. You know, he's trying to work out ways of integrating AI into workflows within his business. And his business is like a brick and mortar business. He's wanting to do like a customer support. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. You know, you can have a knowledge base there of any questions you've previously been asked on emails and things, feed it all in. He has all the answers. And you can have a chatbot sat there, which is full of knowledge that people can just get the answers there and then done. And like people think they're talking to a human sometimes, when actually it's not. It's fully AI.
Right.
But it's just fascinating stuff.
Okay. So we just coming towards the end of our segments, and I've overshot the time, so I'm just gonna hurry up. Now,
speed quiz. Let's go.
No, I have to respect your time. Yeah. So agency management and scaling, you mentioned the importance of SOPs in your business and how you helped Dooley on that as well. How do you create and implement effective SOPs in an agency setting?
So a lot of that is I do the job first, and then if I'm being honest, nowadays I'm quite lazy with it. So previously I would be doing full documentation flows, almost like a if this then that type flow, workflow. But nowadays, I tend to, if I'm being honest, I tend to do just Loom videos, film myself do it, then hand and delegate the responsibility of that task over to whoever is getting that task. And then it's down to them to refine it, improve upon it, take full responsibility. That's kind of the fundamental key with it now. Like, there's a lot of tasks, if I'm being honest, that I don't do anymore. And if you ask me to do them, I'd probably have to watch my own video to relearn how to do it, which is a good place to be. But that's how I would be doing it, is, make sure if you have to do a task that's repeatable, film yourself doing it the one time, and then you should be able to figure out how to, script out that process from there.
Okay. Now, what advice would you give to agency owners looking to scale their operations while maintaining quality?
So that's something that we're busy doing at the moment within Searcheroo. And I think the fundamental is just knowing the work capacity of your staff and almost having that like check-ins with them, just to make sure, stress isn't building up, things aren't starting to go like slipping. And at that point, if you feel, you'll start getting an idea on the call of, are they starting to get stressed? Yeah, if they are, you probably need to help. It's probably a staff deficiency, I would assume. Or again, check in with them, check if there's any issues happening. If the same issue keeps on happening each time, it's probably a process problem, not necessarily a staffing issue. So then figure out whereabouts in the process it's going wrong and then fix that element. Guess what? If that then works, happy days, it reduces that. That's what I would be doing.
Okay. And how do you approach hiring and team building in the SEO industry where the landscape is constantly changing?
How do I what, sorry? Team.
How do you go about hiring and team building?
Oh, hiring and team building. We do a lot of our hires from LinkedIn or from personal mentions. So as in like, staff members, family members, friends. That tends to be how we do it, because we find that they're a lot more A, reliable, B, they don't want to let the family or friend who referred them in down. So we tend to do that route more than anything. And also hire locally. So our team, we've got UK based, and we have Philippines, and we've got some in South Africa. And again, in each of those geos, for whatever job they do, so like that is what we hire for in that geo, if that makes sense. So, a lot of the Philippines guys are doing a lot more technical SEO and on-page stuff, where I'm training them and they're doing like following SOPs and stuff. Whereas the South Africans and UK guys tend to be doing a lot more interactions with, customers or face-to-face interactions, sales stuff, like more top-level stuff. So that tends to be how we deal with it.
Okay. Now, with that, we come to the last segment of our show, which is quick fire round. So whatever comes first in your mind, you're going to answer, and I'm going to go.
Okay.
Now, biggest SEO myth you want to bust?
Links don't work.
Okay. Favorite SEO tool right now?
Ooh. Either SEO testing or SEO crawl.
Okay.
Best.
Yeah, I heard both. I got, I think I got SEO testing guys on my podcast as well.
Oh, wow. Excellent.
Yeah. Yes. I forgot the name, but yes, I got there. The manager, he's a good guy. I forgot. Nick, or I think Nick, yes.
Yeah.
Now, best decision you made in your business?
Getting a business partner.
Okay. One book or resource that changed your approach?
I quite like the Art of SEO, but I also like the Daily Stoic as well. And that's like just a daily reminder to, be wiser.
Okay. What's next for you in 2025?
Build more assets, continue the growth period that we're currently going through, and build more assets.
Okay. And before we wrap up, Karl, what's one piece of advice you would like to give to SEO professionals or agency owners who are looking to take their business to the next level?
Like I was saying earlier, don't be scared to add paid ads into the mix. I think paid ads is fundamental and I think a lot of SEOs are very much like this is SEO. This is all I do. And I think, honestly, you'll be very surprised. I mean, pleasantly surprised at how much things become easier when it comes to ranking when you start utilizing paid advertising or other forms of traffic. And again, those user signals just all help feed the data and at the same time can help generate a return on investment as well. So that's what I would be doing.
Okay. And where can our listeners connect with you and learn more about your work?
Yeah, so YouTube, I think it's just Karl Hudson. Searcheroo also has a channel there, and then our personal website, karlhudson.co.uk.
Okay. And for all the agency owners and SEO consultants listening, if you are looking for high quality white label SEO services to scale your business, check out Page Traffic. We have helped agencies around the world deliver SEO results without the hassle of hiring in-house team. Visit Page Traffic website to learn. And thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today, Karl. It's been a pleasure having you on the Agency Insider Show.
Cheers. Thank you, Navneet.
That's it for today's episode of the Agency Insider Show. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with anyone who wants to scale their SEO business. See you next time.